Come on in, everybody. It's me, Jeni Calhoun, with How Do We Heal? Today, we are about to have fun. Not only are we going to dive deep, but you guys get to meet my friend, Adrian, and we're going to talk about everything from the masculine perspective. Yeah, that's right, fellas. We are going deep. I know how you like to stay on the surface, but today, Adrian has agreed for us to go deep on y'all's behalf. This is the representation of the divine masculine today, all right? So guys, send out your love and your hearts to Adrian and make him feel safe and welcome, cause baby, I got some questions for him. How you doing, Adrian?
I'm good, Jay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so first we're gonna paint. So I got this art set up here, and I love to be able to paint. Now, am I an artist? Not like, Basquiat or Van Gogh or anybody like that. But what I do like to do is if I'm dealing with some emotions or if I want to get something out, I just choose a color and I don't have any rhyme or reason to what I'm painting, but I get it out. And then when I get done, I tell people that it's abstract art.
That's what I'm gonna have to say too.
It's abstract. So we got some different colors for you to be able to play with just a little bit, and we're gonna paint and just have a casual discussion. Is that okay?
That's cool.
Excellent. I got some gold flakes over here. You want
I
some?
see you got the gold.
You want to put?
I'm good.
Okay, all right now, cause I'm finna bling them out. So Adrian, tell us a little bit about who it is that you are.
Well, I am a father of two, um, a college graduate, a son, a brother, a friend to a lot of people, and I'm a man still kind of navigating through life and trying to figure out, who I am and what my purpose is.
Excellent, excellent. What school did you graduate from?
I graduated from high school, from Crockett County High School,
Hello, where's Crockett County?
in a small town called Alamo, Tennessee.
All right. So
Yeah.
you a good old country boy.
For sure that.
All right now. All right. Where did you go to college?
I went to college at Lane College, the Lane College, in
All right.
Jackson, Tennessee.
All right. Say it with your chest.
Yeah, you see how I kind of perked up a little bit when I said
I
that.
see that. I see that. Excellent. So today we're talking about the impact of sexual abuse on the community as a whole. And we're talking about how we can figure out ways to heal. So I don't have the answers at all, but I think that to collectively we can have a discussion and figure it out together. And I know you and we've been friends for about
It's been some years.
yeah,
Put some time in.
I know, about 8-9 years. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, and so we often have these deep discussions about life and all things related to purpose, and we could be on the phone for hours, and I always say, man, I really wish we could have shared these insights with someone else so that it can help them. So I'm glad that we could be here today, and I appreciate you so much for agreeing to come on here and join us today.
Man, I appreciate you having me, and it's dope to see that, some of the vision and some of the things we've talked about starting to come to life for you. That's dope.
For us, you sitting here right with me.
Yeah,
Hello?
yeah.
Teamwork
That's
make the
real.
dream work.
It is.
All right now. So let's get into this word, sexual abuse.
Mhm.
Now, I always wanted to know, like I don't go to the barbershop, but I always wanted to know, in the barbershop when you guys are having your discussions, does sexual abuse ever come up?
Absolutely not.
Do you guys discuss your feelings or any things that happened to you in your past?
Absolutely not.
So what are y'all in there talking about?
We talking about sports majority of the time. If not sports, you might have some, man talk where you're talking about the women folk. But the times I'm in, as you can see, I'm not in the barbershop too much.
Mm-hmm.
But for the times that I do go, it's mainly sports talk, And I'm somewhat new to the city. So sometimes some of the conversation is going on. I got my headphones in, I'm not really listening. But some of the conversations that probably need to be had in them spots, nah, they not really had.
So do you all have a safe space that if something happened traumatic in your past, like being sexually abused? Because, when I talk, I speak from the female perspective and I always say, well, women are being impacted by this. And somebody corrected me and it might have been you. And like, no, this stuff happens to men too. So what safe spaces do you all have where you open up and discuss?
There's not many, you know. For men, church is kind of nowadays, and it's unfortunate, but it's kind of perceived as kind of like y'all's thing.
Mm,
You don't really see a lot of men a lot of times in church. I don't know if it's so much a stigma or perception behind church, but that's kind of like a woman's thing is to go to church. I think that may be one of the safe spaces that should be available for men, but it's not one as far as for stuff like what we talking about right now. Sexual
mm,
trauma and stuff like that. Nah, it's
mm.
not really a spot for it. That's why it's so good that you're doing this because this can be one of the steps to, having something like that, what you're talking about.
So has anybody ever opened up to you and talked about, being sexually abused?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had some people come and talk to me about stuff like that.
Guys?
Yeah, yeah.
So do you feel comfortable sharing what some of their experiences were like?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, the first thing is that, realizing that it's not just, women that this stuff happens to.
Mhm,
A lot of times, with what we see, whether it's social media or the news, you don't really hear about a lot of things like that that men go through as far as with sexual abuse. But yeah, it's a very real thing. A lot of times where does it start at? A lot of behaviors that men and women have as they get older, a lot of them are rooted in things that happened to them as children.
mm,
Um, that's men and women.
mhm,
So I think a lot of times is when did whatever the said trauma, abuse, when did it happen? If it was a child, why did it happen? I think we spoke on that on the phone
mhm,
as far as trying to get down to the bottom of what really, happened, what goes on with adults, whether it's promiscuous behavior,
mhm,
having abandonment issues when you get older, what's it rooted from?
mhm,
And a lot of that stuff is rooted in sexual trauma. And sometimes you have sexual trauma and you don't realize that it's
mm,
trauma.
mm.
So that's another thing that I feel like we need to talk about too.
So I loved how you said some of the adverse childhood experiences could impact your relationship or how things go forward in your life. So, do you think that a man who was molested as a child, because I have a person in my family who we took it, or it was delivered to me as some sort of a coming of the age ritual where a guy took his son who was around 11, 12, um, to have a stripper to give him a lap dance and to perform fellatio on him.
Mhm.
And that was coming of the age he became a man. And instead of the people around being outraged, the only person that seemed to be outraged was the mother, but the other people around were like, yeah, yeah, right on. Yeah, now we know he gonna do his thing. And it was like, is that normal?
It is. Unfortunately, that's not really normal, but that happens. It's not the first time that I've heard about something like that happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it leads back to the fear of whether it's homosexuality with the
Mm.
child, kind of like a confirmation that he ain't gonna be like that, whatever that is, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's gay or whatever. I think a lot of times that's what that kind of forced masculinity on younger kids. What that is kind of overly sexualized. A lot of times, I think that's what that. I think that's what that is.
Mm, mm, mm. So would a young guy who had kind of like a introduction into manhood, would he perceive women as like objects or sexual objects, or like do you think that may impact that?
Yeah, yeah, it impacts it a lot. Something else that we talked about that impacts it is stuff like what you're exposed to when you're younger, pornography.
Mm,
That's a big one. That kind of shapes and molds who you are as far as where you get your first sexual ideas from, where you get your you can I don't know how old people are gonna be watching, whether you're looking at magazines or
mm-hmm,
that's pretty old, but yeah, just that type of information, getting that stuff too soon, being shown things and yeah, stuff like that. I
So
think
what's the youngest that you have ever heard or you know of anybody that was exposed to pornography?
the youngest I know somebody that was exposed to pornography was about 5 years old. Yeah,
Wow, we're hearing a very I'm noticing a trend. It's a disturbing trend where we've spoken to a few people, and the majority of the people say that their traumatic experience happened when they were about 5, or at least that's when they remember.
yeah,
That is wild.
yeah.
So, what happens to someone who's exposed to pornography at the age of 5? How could that show up in their life at 25?
You become desensitized at a very young age to certain things. When you're exposed to stuff like that, a kid isn't supposed to be exposed to stuff like that. You're supposed to be worrying about kid stuff.
Mhm.
So when they are exposed to that, it can affect you in ways where you really don't realize it. Whether it's sexual performance,
Mhm.
sexual preferences, all of those type of things can be affected by watching that type of material at a young age. Yeah,
Mm. Mm.
yeah.
So when I hear the word promiscuous or promiscuity, for some reason I only think about women. I don't think about men as being promiscuous, because in society, men having multiple sexual
Mhm.
partners seems to be normalized.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, and that goes back to when you were talking about the birthday party
Mhm.
with the parent got the lap dance and
Mhm.
the oral sex for the kid. That all goes back to that, and it seems to be like I said, it's sad, but it's an accepted part of our culture. It seems like sometimes that, like I said, it's that validation as a man.
Mhm.
A lot of times we have to get that validation, whether it's from a brother, a relative. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure on us with stuff like that.
Okay. Could someone what are some sexually deviant behavior that you have seen in young men? Or have you ever heard of any?
Oh yeah, yeah, I've heard of it for sure.
Mhm.
Whether it come from when you growing up young, you hear about stuff, and this may just be the country type stuff, but when you young, playing house with your cousins,
Mhm.
doing things like that, it can be normalized, but it really isn't normal, and it comes from somewhere. Whether it's a older relative that's putting that bad game down, because I think it's all not so much generational, but I think it all comes from a source. So
Mm.
what, and I think everybody's passing it down and passing it
Mm.
down and passing it down.
So that playing house, I know about that playing house and that
Yeah,
that rough housing and
yeah,
touching and fondling,
yeah,
all of that when you're going through that self-discovery age.
yeah.
So, could that lead to being a sexually deviant an adult, with that hiding and sneaking and humping and all of that type of behavior?
Yes, yes, it can. It can, depending on what type of parent that you had.
Mhm.
Your parents are a lot too, and I think that's the thing that leads to a lot of promiscuity nowadays.
Mhm.
Is that what type of game did your mom and dad lay down for you?
Mhm.
Was your mom laid up with men around you? Or did your dad bring multiple women around you when you were coming up?
Mhm.
What was normalized to you as a kid? I think we lose sight of that a lot of times, and we'll put a label on somebody, whether it's a man or a woman, or
Mhm.
they a hoe, or I'm sorry, I don't know if we can
Yeah,
say
that's
that, but
okay.
whether they're a hoe, or it's real dismissive of somebody if they have sexual, they're hypersexual.
Mhm.
But you have to kind of look into a person rather than just cast them away, and I think
Yeah.
that happens a lot of times. And when that happens, it just leads to more so of the same behavior from the same people, from the people.
Mm. Mm, mm, mm. That you're right. You're absolutely right about that behavior continuing even up into adulthood.
Hmm.
Um, I have a couple of my sister friends who are dealing with men who are cheaters. They'll be in a relationship with someone with them and they'll say that they're going to be faithful, but then they find themselves seeking solace or sexual excursions, rendezvous
Hmm.
from other people, be they in a relationship or married. Um And cause some of that stuff, like, is there a way for, like, the stuff that has happened to them in the childhood, is that something that could that come from childhood, or where does that come from?
Well, it go back to the game that was laid down to you.
Mhm.
What type of dad did you have? What type of
Mhm.
mom did you have? Did you have a dad that gave flowers to your mama? Did you
Mhm.
have a dad that regularly going on date nights with your mom and seeing unity like that? If you don't grow up really seeing that type of stuff, you don't realize how much you lack it until you get in your own situation when you become an
Mm.
adult and you realize how ill-equipped you are.
Mm.
You don't realize how much you don't know,
Mhm.
like the saying go, until
Yeah.
you don't know.
Yeah.
So that's what happens a lot of times. That's why when we were talking on the phone one time, I was saying a lot of people just need to focus on themselves.
Yeah.
But that's harder. That's hard to do because you do have sexual appetite.
Yeah.
So, even in the sense where you do know you might need to be working on yourself or doing this,
Mhm.
you got hormones, you got, you want to, whatever. So, but that's why I was talking to you one time and just saying a lot of people need to learn themselves and get with God,
Mm.
and I feel
Yeah.
like that's really the thing that is lacking just in society in general is God,
That personal relationship with
the
God.
personal relationship with God and
Mhm.
just him in everything we do,
Mhm.
and I'm speaking because I need to put him in more of the stuff I do, but yeah,
Hello, hello, that we all do.
yeah,
Nobody is sitting here perfect.
yeah.
Let me tell you, cause I got a story too. You better know it. Um, so what are some ways that we could, as a community, create an environment where men feel comfortable having those tough discussions, even if it's with their partners? Because you could be in a relationship with someone for years as a woman and not know what's wrong, and a guy could be being triggered by even the scent of a woman's perfume, or the way that she carries herself could be a trigger to him.
Yeah.
So what are some things that we as women can do to help create a safe environment for you guys to feel comfortable
Uh,
opening up?
um, Understanding, not being, judgmental, not thinking everything is coming from a man just wanting to satisfy sexual appetite.
Mhm.
Sometimes it can lead to from something else. That
Mhm.
man, now sometimes you do got dudes that just, they just like to get
They're
it.
just
And then,
freaky.
hey, and that just is what it is.
Yeah.
Shout out them dudes. But, in some cases you don't have that. You have dudes that genuinely want to be on the right path, but just don't know where to start. I think, and like I said, don't let me just isolate the men. I think it's some women in that situation too.
Yeah,
They just don't
absolutely.
know where to start with, with the help they need. I was in that boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so if I were if I were married and I knew that my husband was dealing with something just based on looking at how he reacts in certain situations, how could I get him to open up? Is that something I can do, or do I just leave him alone? I think we've just been leaving them alone.
No, you got to make sure that he knows with you is a safe space.
Mhm.
If you got a partner, you got to let that person know that it's cool to be vulnerable. Me and we got an issue with being vulnerable. Really don't like to show too much weakness.
Yeah.
We will, but only to a certain extent.
Mhm.
And if you with a woman where you feel like you can't be vulnerable, that will lead to whether it's stepping out, acting out, just not make sure your partner can be himself around you. Because if he can be himself, then you'll find out a lot more about it.
Mm. So what are some of the behaviors? Now I'm about to get messy.
All right.
What are some of the behaviors that women exhibit that would make a man not feel safe, that would make him feel like he needed to run, or he needed to tip out?
That's a good question.
Or yeah, tell me.
Give it to me one more time.
What are some behaviors that women could exhibit, that we as women exhibit, that would make a man not want to open up to us, that would make him
Uh,
feel like, what are some behaviors, if you could name 'em,
um, some behaviors that a woman can do.
that would make a man be like, I ain't telling her nothing?
Okay, yeah. Stepping on his words, over talking him
What is that, stepping on his words?
when he's trying to get out something, be willing to listen. Give him the time to formulate his thoughts.
Mhm.
A lot of times when it come to those type of conversations, men, we not the best kind of talkers. So a lot of stuff come from the heart, especially when you get us in a vulnerable position. We hadn't put a lot of thought into getting it out to nobody because don't nobody really want to listen to no man problem. At least that's
Mm.
kind of
That's how
sometimes
y'all
what
feel?
sometimes,
Mhm.
sometimes, not all the time. But yeah, and then it's the male thing with society, suck it up. Everybody going through something. I'm guilty of using that on myself with issues that I deal with and wrestle with. I look around and everybody dealing with something. So you got something on your plate, just deal with it. Everybody else is. And I feel like it needs to be an area in between where both of those things can be true.
Mhm.
Where you do need to deal with it, man up. That
Mhm.
is a thing. You really do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we really do need to do that. But sometimes it does need to be a space where we can be a little bit more vulnerable than normal.
Yeah.
And just get out whatever needs to be gotten out. Because when you don't, that's just like anything, is when you hold something in, eventually gonna lash out.
Mhm.
In a relationship, when a man continues to hold stuff in, whether it's his opinion, the way he's feeling, he's gonna lash out. Some dudes might do the domestic route,
Mm.
try to hit, fight. Some dudes might go out in the street and go lay up for the night. Or some dudes might just shut down in the home. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't want to deal with you. I'm just doing this for these kids. But me and you, I'm just going through the motion.
Mhm.
That's what you want to avoid if you're a woman from a man. Just make sure it's an open space for him to speak and to be comfortable talking. I think a lot of times we don't feel like if we are really truly vulnerable, that it'll be received well.
Mm.
Yeah.
So it sounds like knowing when to shut up. Just knowing when to be quiet.
At times, you can
Yeah,
say
at
that.
times that
Yeah.
is. I've been guilty. I've been guilty, especially when I want to get my point out. But
Yeah.
I not want to get my point out.
Yeah.
And another thing,
Yeah.
because it might not be time for that other thing.
That's definitely a thing, is wanting to get your point out. And because I'm one of them people where when I'm having a conversation, I can come off rude because I'll cut you off.
Mhm.
But it's because I really want to land this point. I
Mhm.
really want to land. So let me land and then I'll go ahead, we can keep moving. But you can't do that when you're trying to have a real conversation with somebody because
Yeah.
they got thoughts and they got ways they feel that they want to get out too. So that's why I said it's really important that you have spaces like what you're doing now. Yeah, I'm excited to see this grow. I think it's a good idea, but you already knew that.
Hello, let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go. Now we have the opportunity of like touching the surface so far, but I really want us to be able to go deep. We went deep a little bit, but I want us to go deeper and talk about how do we heal? What are some programs or activities that we can create for the next generation of men coming up to help them with their social emotional intelligence, to help them to feel safe enough to be vulnerable, to like how can we help cultivate the next generation of strong, emotionally intelligent men?
I think it starts with us being men.
Mhm.
It starts in the household. We can't put that onus off on just our women.
Mhm.
We got to take some responsibility for that. Whether you're a father now that's experienced some trauma and raising kids, or you have to, you know, have some self-awareness about yourself and know what's going on with you, so you can help people. Help the people that you need to help.
Mhm.
Um,
As a father to two girls,
mhm.
how does your upbringing inform how you take care of them? Like after you know about all the different sexual abuse traumas that can happen in a family dynamic or outside of a family dynamic, how has that informed your parenting?
To just talk more, and just like how I said, with the men, making sure that your child has an open forum to talk and express themselves, and to talk and to know if things aren't right, and have those difficult conversations with kids. That's another thing that leads to a lot of behavior when we get older, is the self-navigating as kids.
Mhm.
Not having anybody to feel comfortable with talking about a certain feeling that you might be feeling for somebody,
Mhm.
or whatever the case. You need to have that forum for those kids to speak and to be able to know that they're going to be able to be heard.
Mm.
That's important.
Now, what would you say the man's role is in the family dynamic?
If I'm going traditional, of course, it's to provide, be that protector, that initial provider.
Mhm.
But I think now that I'm, a man myself now, is being able to be there emotionally more so than financially for everybody in the
Mm.
house. Um, yeah, I think that needs to, what we need to shift to as men, is because that's the way we heal. If we
Mhm.
the true leaders of the household and the
Mhm.
true leaders of the village, then we need to set up some stuff. And this going back to your question as far as about, stuff we need to do to start to heal.
Mhm.
Creating safe spaces for men, made by men for men,
Yeah.
maybe where it's not with y'all. No offense
Yeah.
to y'all, but
No, we
no.
don't need to be there.
Yeah, not with y'all. That way we have men that no judgments on.
Mm.
You come in, you see, and it's no confession that's too embarrassing.
Mhm.
We talked about this on the phone. Something that really upset me is when Kanye West came out about a month and a half ago, and he came out and said, I don't know whether it was clickbait. You know how you really don't know a lot of times, not just with him,
Mhm.
with all celebrities, what's real and what's not. But when he came out about that, coming public about being molested and how our community did him, I saw that and I didn't like that, and I thought it was messed up because, man, that take a lot,
Yeah,
to
it
come out and
does.
say what he said happened to him.
It does.
And regardless of the age, I think he might have been like, what was it, 14 or
Mhm.
something like that. It doesn't matter if he was 17,
Mhm.
18 when it happened. That take heart and just say what it is. It take balls to come out and to
Yeah.
be able to say that. And for us to, not all of us,
But
but
a lot of
a
people.
lot of people kind of like, not even so much laughed at him, disowned him.
Mhm.
Why are we still listening to this Negro? It's like, man, you can't do people like that. You just can't. It's real passive. And like I said, when somebody is opening up like that, you need to listen to them. No matter
Yeah.
what their history is, no matter what they've done. I don't care if they won a KKK hoodie. I don't care what they did. You need to listen to them because that's some stuff to have to reveal, and it take heart to do that,
And
especially
people
to
were
the world.
laughing and making fun of him.
Yeah,
Do you think that that may be one of the reasons why men don't open up because they fear being treated the way Kanye was?
absolutely. That's the reason why a lot of men don't open up, and that's why it was disheartening to see that for that brother because I don't know if it took a lot for him to do that, but when I seen him tweet that or whatever it is, whatever they doing now, whenever I seen him post that on something,
Mhm.
that hit me, just because I know that took a lot for him to do that. Because
Yeah.
I know it's a lot of brothers that's living with a lot of trauma, very, very similar to that. And they just swallowing it or they just have, suppressed it in their mind where they
Yeah.
don't even remember it happened, so
And they were calling him gay and saying he was homosexual
yeah,
because of that experience.
yeah,
Do you think that some men may grow up and be a little more promiscuous because they're running away from maybe some of those things where when they were exploring
yeah.
sexuality as a child so that they won't be perceived as gay?
Yeah, validation is everything.
Mm.
And sometimes, we'll seek validation through sexual acts as
Mm.
men. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's your woman ain't responding well to you at the house, well, let me go over here where somebody might be responding a little bit better. Make you
Mm.
feel, and it's messed up. It shouldn't take sex or somebody feeding your ego in order to make you feel like a man, but a lot of times that's what it is.
Mm.
And what happens with men, with sometimes, not all the time with y'all, is that behavior gets just, oh, you a dog, and
Mm.
sometimes the dude is a dog, but
Mhm.
a lot of times it's coming from somewhere,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying y'all don't want to be held accountable, Jay. I'm not saying that. But
Okay.
sometimes the fear of a woman sometimes I feel like y'all have a fear of being held accountable
Mm.
because it's might lead to something, that draws back to y'all. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that cheating is never ever a woman's fault,
Mhm.
but if you don't have a safe space, and that's for men or women,
Mhm.
they will go find a place where they perceive to be safe if they don't feel like the space is safe where they are.
That's right.
So,
That's human nature.
that's human nature to find, a safe space,
Now, Adrian, I could
self-preservation.
talk to you all day long, because there is so much to unpack, especially when I have you as a man in the hot seat.
It's hot.
But we don't have all day, and we're going to have to wrap this thing up. But do you promise to come back and sit down and talk to us next
For sure.
time?
For sure.
We'll go a little bit deeper.
For sure.
All right. Well, let's show them our paintings, because I don't know what you got going on over there.
Man, I got a
This is
mess.
this is my masterpiece.
I got a
You
mess.
ready?
You had gold flakes. I'm mad about that.
Oh no! Look, y'all. Let me see what you got going on.
I was biting off your style,
Ooh, that feels really fun and light.
Yeah, I don't know what I was going for, but yeah, this is it.
Oh yes, and this is now on sale. This is an abstract art by Jeni Calhoun,
Ah, that's
and
funny.
this is on sale for $500. Yes,
Hey,
just a small amount of $500. No, just kidding.
I want 1,000 for mine.
Yeah, well, then I want 1,500. No, just
Right,
kidding.
right, right. Come on now.
You said, "Don't sell yourself
Yeah,
cheap."
not at all.
Alright. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been another phenomenal episode of How Do We Heal? I am so glad to have you, Adrian. Thank you so much for joining us. I love you guys.